So where do we start? Because oftentimes, as it comes to acquiring finance, the requirements of the self-employed is far, it's almost harder for them to be able to reach the finance that they want.
Yes, yes. All right, so let me start off. First of all, when you're self-employed, it's as if you're the employer and the employee. And I want to first direct my comments to, the financial institutions, the loan representatives, the managers of the credit section. If you can hear me, yeah, put down your coffee and listen. I'm starting with you. And not getting personal, but the reality is, as a self-employed person myself, I know what it is to turn up at a financial institution and feel as if I am the pariah of the earth. I
Mm.
understand that obviously once you're self-employed, it's a bit riskier. You don't know how we're going to do in the future, even though you look at our past, and that makes it challenging, especially in an environment where we have known 9 to 5 as the staple, as the standard. How do you deal with these risky individuals, these
Yes.
entrepreneurs who want to step out on their own? So all I'm starting off by saying is please have a little bit more compassion when
Mm-hmm.
self-employed persons walk through the door. Don't just treat them as if, oh, here comes this,
Yes.
this person who is stepping out of the box. Sometimes we feel as if trying to get a mortgage can be this dexterity test,
Mm.
an obstacle course, an exercise to frustrate you. So we have to change that narrative from the inside of the institutions so that as individuals, step up wanting to aspire like anybody else, they feel welcome. So I just want to start there. From
Mm-hmm.
the inside mechanisms, we have to make just receiving you and talking to you about mortgages and so forth, not a place of, demoralization.
Yes, yes. And you're right. I mean, there are two different, I'll use the word categories for now, different categories of self-employed people whose flow of income vary depending on which sector you're operating. So you can't just
Yes.
carte blanche treat every self-employed person quite the same.
Unfortunately, that is done, and I have experienced it myself up to recently. I just felt like customer number 15647, sit down there and we will get back to you.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's certainly not fair. But there are things that self-employed people can do so that they too can acquire property, they can acquire a place of wealth in this society as well. So as it comes to me as a self-employed person owning my own property and acquiring my property, what are some of the things, apart from that reality that I have to encounter eventually, what are some of the other things I need to be mindful of?
Right. So, number one, yes, face the reality that you might not necessarily be treated with love and welcome with open arms. I think once you are mentally prepared for that, you are able to to handle the right a little bit more and be
Yes.
willing to determine to stay the course. First of all, make sure you separate your business and personal finances. And that's a mistake that a lot of us make.
Mm-hmm.
It might be difficult as let's say, a taxi driver, for example, when you're collecting that money to set aside, this is taxi money and this is my money. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to get that discipline where you pay yourself, and this is where people fall down. Pay yourself a little salary, whether it's 1,000, 2,000, whatever, and have the business money separately. Whether you even decide that in your own account you keep savings, the savings section as your personal funds and checking section as the business funds. Find a system to make that work, because that serves as a little form of accounting that will come in handy when you meet the loans officer or,
Mm-hmm.
or representative. So that's step number one. Separate yourself.
Indeed, and along with that, obviously means the discipline of knowing that I would have to funnel my funds through one of those systems that operate a bank, credit union, and so forth, so that you can track it as it goes. Because oftentimes you figure, you know what, I don't have to put, I just put what I want to put every month. But no, run everything through the system so that they get a sense of your history, your track record when it comes to how much money comes in, even though some goes out. It doesn't matter but how much does come in on a regular basis.
Correct. Correct. And what you need to be mindful of is the documents that they will want. As a self-employed person, look, they need to look back and see that you are responsible with your money. So they tend to want a history of self-employment for, let's say, about 3 years. It varies
Yes.
from institution to institution, but that might be in the form of personal tax returns. They want to see what you are filing because you might say that you're making 70,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
$40,000 a month, but what did you tell the government? They go with
Yes.
what you tell the government, right? So
Yes.
um, so start getting that in order. Also, in terms of your business, um, you can get profit and loss statements, whether from your accountant or a simple accounting system, but get profit and loss statements. Sometimes they ask for the business aspect for 2 to 3 years. They want to see that you are not underwater. How are you going to
Mm-hmm.
pay back this mortgage if you're making losses continuously? And bank statements.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see how you are with handling cash.
Yes.
So sometimes they might ask for bank statements as far back as 6 months. And remember, at the end of the day, they're protecting the financial institution. They have to
Yes.
create a narrative about you. They don't know you,
Mm-hmm.
as sweet as you are. So they have to create a financial story about you so that when the credit committee sits down, they can make an informed decision.
And you're quite right, and that's the critical point, that your credit history, your behavior, your
Mhm.
patterns, your everything about the business that you're in is clear to the world to see. Those who have to watch your actions as well. So it's important, though, in setting up the business and in operating the business, that you put all of those things in place as you've described. Whether it be that you have some kind of an accountant who is able to track it for you, that you're banking regularly, whether it's the credit union or the
Yes,
commercial bank, and that you retain those statements. You have to put on your thinking cap. In other words, don't wing it. You cannot assume it when it comes to acquiring property and seeking finance to do so. So I'm glad that you're
correct.
able to reinforce that to the self-employed person. It's not a joyride. It's not a case of, oh, I bake cake, so therefore whatever money I'll go spend on shoes. It is, I'm doing this business and conduct the business as a business, separate and distinct
Yes,
from your fund.
yes. Another thing I would say is get a plan in order. So number one, don't wait until tax time is when we pay out money.
Yes.
Don't think that buying a house around that time is going to be a smart decision because you're going to need a deposit. Okay. Um, Start planning your savings heavily. So if you know that this is the route you want to go, start setting aside a personal sinking fund where you just, stash some cash that will turn
Yes.
into your deposit. Sit down and work out. If you don't think your monies are going to be strong enough on your own, will Daddy Darius, who is retired, be open to standing as a guarantor? Just having
Mm-hmm.
him along on the application with you might strengthen the case of getting X amount of funds.
Yes.
When they use their, let's say, their pension or their savings instruments as a support system for you. And also just have a track record of employment. Even though you might be self-employed now, were you in a steady job for 10 years before
Mm-hmm.
then?
Mm-hmm.
So the key is you are just trying to state an argument, state
Yes.
a definitive argument that you are a strong candidate to pay in terms of paying back and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
What I will end in saying is this, that you find, and I'm fighting for the self-employed, as you can see, I wear the banner. A lot of us are more organized than our counterparts. And trust me, when it comes to paying bills and paying
Yes.
things, we take it personal. We be down in the lines first.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
give the self-employed a chance when they turn up in your institution. If you can see that they're genuinely not ready, but they have the desire, just coach them gently. Because remember, at any point in time, as COVID has shown, you can easily go from 9 to 5 to what?
That's right.
Self-employed.
That's quite true. And more often than not, too, they're probably going to ask you for a deposit. You know, as a self-employed
Yes.
person, they're probably not going to extend 100% financing right up front. So prepare for that as well as in your planning. As always,
And
introduce.
Pearson,
Go ahead.
sorry. I just want to say, shop around. There are some financial institutions that are more user-friendly than others when it comes to these categories of employment. So shop around. Don't stick with one institution because you've been there for 30 years.
Yes.
Try credit unions, try banks, try everybody.